The titular Squid game in Netflix's original Korean drama is a children's playground pastime performed on a squid-shaped court. The rules are explained in the beginning narration: attackers and defenders, one leg or two. It appears that the goal is to just wrestle. To win, the assaulting side must place a foot on the squid's head. Anyone who is pushed outside the squid's bounds dies. Gi-hun is a poor divorcee who works as a chauffeur, has a gambling problem, is in debt, and still lives with his elderly mother, who tries to support both of them. On Ga-yong's birthday, his mother gives him 20,000 won, $17 United States dollars, to buy her supper and a gift. Gi-hun, on the other hand, has other intentions for the money and complains that 20,000 won't even cover a fried chicken meal, so his mother reluctantly gives up extra before rushing off to work. Gi-hun also steals her concealed bank card with the intention of betting on horse races with his friend. He swindles his own mother and gambles away his little earnings on horses. He spends his daughter's birthday morning at the bookies solely to fund her special day. He wins large, but is discovered by one of the loan sharks to whom he owes money. But practically immediately after promising her many goodies, he loses his newfound fortune while being pursued by some thugs to whom he already owes cash. A pickpocket snatches his profits as he is running, and he is now unable to pay them. He has a month to pay the creditors, or the expense would be recouped in the form of his essential organs. To make it official, their commander has Gi-hun sign a contract with his own blood, stating that if he does not pay up by the end of the month, they would remove his organs.
돈이 있었거든요. 끓여 먹어야겠다. 여기 지장 찍어. 여기 알겠습니다. 알겠습니다. 저기 10,000원만 빌려주시면. 저기요, 아까 드린 10,000원 좀.
떠나시니까 안 되죠.
Gi-hun takes his daughter out for dinner that night with the little cash he has left. He gives Ga-yong a simple birthday supper of street food and a worthless toy pistol from a claw machine. She takes care not to irritate Gi-hun when he is compelled to take her out for a cheap junk food lunch, and pretends to be pleased with the cigarette lighter shaped like a pistol that Gi-hun presents her as a gift. He got it out of a claw machine with the aid of some random child at an arcade. Despite her assurances that she prefers street food to the elegant steak meal her stepfather provided her to, Gi-hun is frustrated that he can't give her as much as her stepfather. Gi-hun meets a man at a railway station who dares him to Dak-G, a basic children's game in which the goal is to toss and turn the other player's paper card over. Each round, whomever loses will receive around $85. However, because Gi-hun lacks the necessary funds, the salesperson smacks him across the face when he loses.
컬러로 하시겠습니까? 몸으로요?
Does, however, eventually win a round. He's 100,000 richer now, and he's much more sensitive to the concept that there are other big money games he can play. Gi-hun is compelled by the notion, since the salesperson appears to know everything about him, including his job history and present obligations. He's pleased to have gained 100,000 won, but it's hardly enough to cover his debts, and when he gets home, his mother informs him that Ga-yong will be traveling to the United States next year. He must demonstrate his ability to financially support her in order for her to stay. The salesperson makes him an offer. He can do the same thing for considerably larger prizes in the future. He hands Gi-hun a business card with a phone number and waves goodbye as he boards the approaching train, never breaking his strange smile. The next day, Gi-hun learns from his mother that his ex-wife Yoon-ji's new husband, Ga-yong's stepfather, has accepted a new work offer and would be relocating to the United States in a few months, preventing Gi-hun from seeing her. Gi-hun's mother, who is concerned that Ga-yong would lose touch with her Korean origins if she travels to America, comments that if he had more money, he'd be able to demonstrate his ability to take care of her better and establish a case for shared custody. Gi-hun, desperate to keep his daughter, pulls out the card and dials the number. So, naturally, Gi-hun dials the number on the business card given to him by the salesman and agrees to join. Red light, green light turns out to be the password for joining in, which entails boarding a human transporter with the other passengers, all of whom, including Gi-hun, are gassed unconscious for the journey. Gi-hun awakens in a massive hall full of bunk beds, wearing a green tracksuit with the number 456 emblazoned across the breast. There are hundreds of other individuals in there as well, all dressed in the same suit and number. The game has 456 players, according to a display. There are 455 other players who are all waking up in towers of simple bunk beds at the same time. 001, an old guy who counts the participants to avoid dementia, gets a brain tumor. Within this period, Gi-hun meets player 101, a gangster named Jang Deok-soo, player 067, the female pickpocket that stole his prize money at the horse races while being beaten by Deok-soo, whom she had betrayed some time ago, and, to Gi-hun's surprise, Cho Sang-woo, player 218, his adolescent best friend who had received a degree from the prestigious Seoul National University and was thought to be financially successful. A voice calls out, and people are pushed into lines and escorted out. Masked guys in pink jumpsuits and masks with symbols ranging from circles to triangles to squares explain the game and how players may win cash rewards in the subsequent rounds. One man objects, questioning why they were drugged and brought here. The leader singles him out and reveals that he is deeply in debt. He then explains that everyone here is in the same boat, in grave financial circumstances and in desperate need of help. Before arriving here, they all gave away their bodily rights. They are then given a second contract in which they can quit if the majority of the players choose to do so, but they will not be paid. Everybody signs and enters the next room. An announcement is made, all participants gather for the first game, which is unveiled in the next chamber, red light, green light, or, the hibiscus flower is blooming, in Korean. A massive doll stands at the far end of an enclosure. It describes the rules as follows, it sings the jingle before turning around. If it detects movement while facing a player, they are disqualified. They have 5 minutes to go to the end of the room and reach the finish line. Players 324 and 250 place a wager on who would cross the finish line first, with the winner receiving $1 million. As the game begins, the players begin to race, with 250 and 324 far ahead of the pack. For the first time, the doll looks around and notices player 324 moving. 250 makes a sly remark about his defeat, but then a huge blast echoes throughout the stadium, and 324 collapses to the ground. 250 first believes 324 is acting theatrical and urges him to stop, until he witnesses the other man vomit up blood and lay lifeless. Then he realizes the man is no longer alive and starts running back in a panic. Unfortunately, the doll notices him moving and he is soon blasted with gunshots, his blood splattering on player 306. She cries in terror and is also slain. As a result of seeing what elimination genuinely means, a slew of players attempt to flee in terror. As other individuals move, other bullets strike. A succession of holes can be observed around the enclosure's walls, each enclosing a miniature turret. A woman's voice reminds the participants that if they move, they will be disqualified. With this in mind, the other players seek to continue. The elderly guy is blissfully clueless and continues to play with zeal, while Gi-hun, the pickpocket, Deok-soo, Sang-woo, and the other players gather their wits and go on. A lethal ballet ensues as people attempt to play the game but always fall short. With each round, more bodies fall. The turrets properly spat death. A masked guy in black turns on a music player while watching the horror unfold on a giant screen in what appears to be a control center. As players are cruelly gunned down, Fly Me to the Moon plays. Gi-hun is nearing the finish line, while the others have already crossed. When the doll turns around, he's ready to trip, but he's stopped and held up at the last second by player 199, a foreigner who makes it to the finish line with him at the last second. Those who do not cross the finish line are disqualified and executed. It becomes clear to Gi-hun and the others that this is no ordinary game. This is a matter of life and death.